After my brief stay in Taji, I returned to Baghdad just in time to put up the Christmas decorations. The DoD started allowing female civilian contractors in theater, and Benita was the first American woman assigned to our mission as a project manager and coordinator. She tells me tomorrow I am going to Paladin. No city is associated with the site, just coordinates. Curious as to where this ammunition supply point is, I enter the coordinates in Google Maps. This Paladin ASP is 60 clicks west of Baghdad and 20 clicks north of Fallujah. When I returned to the United States, I researched the CEA mission and found this site and numerous reports and findings. Paladin was used to store surface to surface, surface to air, air to surface, and air to air missiles. I wake up at 4 a.m. and head out to the rendezvous point and meet up with the new guy who just flew in last night. As we are waiting in the cold morning air, a heavy truck convoy rumbles by, literally shaking the ground beneath us. We jump in a Humvee and are quickly outside the wire. The Iraq countryside is eerily quiet and deserted. It's cold, humid, and a thick fog limits our visibility. The sun slowly starts to rise and we watch it in silence. No one is talking. The only noise is the roar of the tires. We quickly pass the early risers in a blur who shout out and beg for packages of MREs, meals ready to eat. We drive along a beautiful and surreal landscape saturated in a pinkish orange light of the rising sun, and the guy next to me comments on how beautiful the landscape is and if I would send him copies of my photos. We drive in a convoy and we're instructed to keep at least 50 meters between vehicles to escape ambushes. The fog is thick and limiting our visibility. It's a double-edged sword. We can't see them and they can't see us. I am hypervigilant and adrenalized. My muscles are tense in anticipation of gunfire or worse, an explosion. Occasionally we drive in an area of no fog and I get to see what is out there. In this case, barren desert. As is normal, the roadway is littered with the remains of war and its destruction. We are back in a thick fog, and I feel a bit safer knowing I'm not a sitting duck driving down the road. The fog is getting thicker, so we have to drive slower and closer. The guy riding shotgun is on high alert. In the blink of an eye, the sky goes from blue to yellow, and the driver tells me we are in a dust storm. A voice on the radio tells us we are going to pull to the side of the road and take a break. Soldiers jump out of the trucks and immediately take up positions guarding while the others go about their business. It's cold and dusty, so I'm wearing 3 coats just to stay warm and a bandana so I can breathe. Soldiers are pulling out gas cans and refueling vehicles while others double-check their weapons. We hear gunfire far off in the distance, and the sentry says it's probably a farmer hunting game in the morning. A voice shouts out, "Wrap up, finish your business, get back in the trucks as we're moving out." By mid-morning, we arrive at Paladin's fortified outer perimeter wall, and I am told no filming beyond this point. We all jump out of the trucks and head to the P-tubes to relieve ourselves, as the female soldiers guard over us. While the soldiers perform military duties, I wander off towards the guard shack and take a peek inside. Once past all the fortifications, I am told pictures are allowed and am told to report to the DA civilian Suxo. I am told the base is on lockdown as a delegation of generals and reporters are flying in from the Green Zone. As a precaution, all Iraqi day laborers have been rounded up and locked up for the duration of the visit. In the distance, I could hear the thud-thud of choppers. I scan the horizon and see 2 small dots. Within seconds, they are flying over us and getting ready to land. The choppers descend and start to hover, a standard practice to clear out the dust and debris before landing and turning off their engines. The rotors slow and finally stop. Then people jump out and gather around. A group goes out to meet them and handshakes are exchanged. Out of nowhere, a commercial bus shows up and people start to board. Camera in hand, I pretend to be part of the group and climb aboard. Next thing I know, I'm in a conference room next to top army brass, listening to a presentation of demolition progress. No one ever questioned my presence. We move from the conference room to the outdoors as the special forces set up a double-manned security perimeter for the generals. The brass streams out and lines up as over here we are going to witness a 73-ton demolition of captured enemy ammunition. Meanwhile, a Washington Post reporter is busy asking questions to the SUXO and writing down the answers. One of the safety men tells me we are 2.5 miles from the detonation point to prevent stray shrapnel from showering down on us. I learned that sound travels at 1 mile every 5 seconds, and if I start counting when I see the flash, it will take about 13 seconds before I hear the sound. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13.
Woo!
After the demolition, Colonel Paul Plemons, who I had met while at najaf, was being presented with a medal. The de Fleury medal is presented to an individual who has rendered significant service or support to the Engineer Regiment. The medal was named in honor of François de Fleury, a French nobleman who volunteered in the Continental Army during the American Revolutionary War. During the desperate Battle of Stony Point, New York in 1779, de Fleury's courage under fire won him the accolades of Congress. Due to his significant service in the Explosive Ordnance Disposal Corps managing the captured enemy ammunition program, Colonel Plemons is awarded, in theater, by the U.S. Army Engineer Association, the Bronze de Fleury Medal. As quickly as they came, the group of generals and journalists are whisked from the bus to the flight line of awaiting choppers. Within seconds, the group has boarded the choppers, closed the doors, and the engines whirled up to lift speeds. Like a choreographed dance, the choppers lift off, one right after another, kicking up huge amounts of dust and sand. They hover for a minute, pitch forward as if they were going to crash to the ground, and speed off into the distance, and are gone. I walk to my assigned hooch and notice a railroad leading out into the high desert, which piques my curiosity. I ask Bridget, one of the permanent UXO civilian technicians at Paladin, where it leads to. She tells me it goes out a way to the outskirts of Fallujah and is used to load and unload ordnance for this ASP. She further tells me there is a loading dock about 100 meters out that overlooks Fallujah and is within the wire of the base. I ask if it is safe to walk out to the loading dock. She replies there is occasional sniper fire, but they are too far away to get a hit. Fallujah is called the City of Mosques, as the city of 350,000 has 200 mosques, the most per capita of any city in Iraq. When I get back to camp, it is Maghrib, and the locals are performing Salah, or sunset prayers. In most sects of Islam, the dividing line between devout Muslim and a non-devout Muslim is if they pray 5 times a day. It is getting dark, and we are working around the clock to set up a 3-meter VSAT dish for the new command center. After the techs lock onto the bird, I call the Network Operations Center, upload an option file, and activate the iDirect modem. Then I launch iSight and run through a series of tests to measure attenuation, signal to noise, cross-polarization, and transmit voltage. After the test, then I configure the wide area network protocol and other local area network parameters. Job done. I stow my gear and go check on the progress of building out the command center and ask if they need my help. They ask if I can cable up and activate the ports on the switch to the wall jacks. There aren't many, so it's quickly done. I head to the old command center to verify all is good. Unfortunately, no one is there, which is a bad sign. I find everyone across the hall patiently waiting their turn to use a new internet access to send and receive emails. My day is over, so I drag myself to the hooch, which I share with the troops, who oddly enough are on patrol. The next day, I work with the UXO techs to troubleshoot uploading issues using the new satellite connection. I fixed the issue, and all of yesterday's collected data is uploaded to the DoD site in Washington, D.C. for analysis. My job and mission complete, I check out the new command center and find the SUXO already moved in. He tells me they are short-handed and if I'd like to work out in the field as a UXO tech hauling around ordnance. He tells me to get my gear and meet him out in front where the northern Iraqi Kurds gather. These northern Kurds are day laborers and help out in the field. They are very hardworking and trustworthy. The Kurds are surprised to see an American hitching a ride in the back of the truck with them and start clapping. When we arrive on the line, the first order of business is to unload crates of small arms munitions. What's too heavy to be lifted by a group of 4 men is driven to a crane, which places it in a neat pile for demolition. My job is to identify, scan, quantify, and tag the crates and pallets of ordnance. Not able to ID this ordnance, I ask the techs, who all turn around and bust out laughing. What? What's so funny? We drive off the range and let the UXO techs rig up the pile of ordnance for demolition. The safety klaxon sounds. We see an explosion and much later hear the sound. Our job here is done. I am told I am riding back to Baghdad in the new armored SUVs the Army has assigned to DoD contractors. Equipment and a team flew in last night to retrofit the SUVs and harden them against the new IED threats. They bolt on 2-inch plexiglass to the windows and 1/4-inch steel to the door panels. We all agree a thin piece of metal isn't going to protect us from a 120mm projectile explosion. Thankfully, we run the gauntlet known as IED Alley outside the airport and make it safely back to base. I am shipping back to the US today, so I say goodbye to my coworkers and Kurd friends whom I will miss. I grab a bite to eat with a contractor who's only been here for a month and is obligated for a year. I think to myself, poor guy. I clean out my locker and leave a little souvenir of my being here. J.C. Lemaire, Operation Iraqi Freedom, October 2003 to January 2004. I make sure to take my good luck charm Cynthia Perot gave me to keep me safe and company while I was away. I am dropped off at the airport and simply told to present my CAC card as my name is already on the manifest. I am told to have a seat in the waiting lounge, which is really an air-conditioned tent with a large screen TV. Bored, I walk around and find a box of MREs and an unopened, unread Christmas cards sent to the troops. My name is called out on the PA and I am instructed to proceed to the boarding area. I am told to stow my gear on the luggage pallet. Then someone calls out my name, Mr. Lemaire. Photography from here on out is strictly prohibited. Please stow your camera with the luggage. I do as I am told, but keep the Casio EX S3 in my shirt pocket and climb aboard the awaiting C-130. As the plane takes off, I look out the window and see the sun setting over Iraq. How appropriate, I think to myself, and take my last shot.